Hey grammarians, welcome to the second screencast in our pronoun series. Today's pronouns are indefinite pronouns. As always, a quick recap. A noun is a person, place, thing, idea, or emotion, and a pronoun is a word that replaces those nouns. Now remember, we've got 5 classes of pronouns and we've already covered personal pronouns, so today's topic is indefinite pronouns. So what is an indefinite pronoun? Well, an indefinite pronoun is a pronoun that does not refer to any specific person, amount, or thing, nothing in particular. Indefinite pronouns are like vague and not definite, hence the term indefinite. And an example would be something like, someone stole my keys. Since we don't actually know who that person is, it's not really definite who took them, that is referred to as an indefinite pronoun. All right, here is a partial list of indefinite pronouns, and just looking at the list, you can see that pronouns can be separated by number. In other words, there is a group of indefinite pronouns that are singular and a group of indefinite pronouns that are plural. It's important for you to know which of these indefinite pronouns are singular and which are plural, because you will have to write sentences that are grammatically correct. And if ever you're going to be using an indefinite pronoun as the subject of your sentence, then the predicate of your sentence is going to have to agree in number with whatever subject you set up. If you are using a singular indefinite pronoun, you're going to have to use a singular predicate to go with it. But wait, there's more, because some indefinite pronouns can actually be singular or plural depending on how you are using it in a sentence. So for example, if you are using the word all in a sentence where all is considered a singular entity, you're going to use a singular predicate. So all of the candy is gone. Candy is a singular entity, and so all has to be singular in that case. So you'll use the singular form of to be, and that is the word is. In the next example, you'll see all of the documents were referenced. So in this case, all is referring to a group of things that are plural. Documents are plural. And so you would use the plural form of the verb to be. Now again, it is important to understand whether the indefinite pronoun you're using is singular or plural because of the way you are going to create sentences. So subjects and predicates have to agree in number. And if you have a singular subject, it requires a singular predicate. Same is true for a plural subject. So if you have the boy was tired, your subject is boy, your predicate is was. It is the singular form of to be. And if you have the boys were tired, and here you have a plural subject, so you have to use the plural form of to be. Boys were. Now, if you're replacing the subject, which is a noun, with a subject that is a pronoun, and specifically an indefinite pronoun, then you still have to make sure that your pronoun and your predicate agree in number. So if you say someone was inside my car, you'll use the singular form of to be because the indefinite pronoun someone is always singular. The same is true for the word others, which is always plural. So since others is always plural, you will have to use a plural predicate to match that plural subject. Okay, now what if your subject is separated from your predicate by a group of words, say a prepositional phrase, or frankly any other group of words? You have 2 rules that you need to consider. The first rule is if the subject is a singular or a plural indefinite pronoun, then you just disregard the prepositional phrase and just make sure that your subject and predicate agree in number. In other words, if your indefinite pronoun is on the always singular list, then you will always use a singular predicate to go along with it. For example, in that first example, every one of the students is responsible for arriving to class on time. One is always a singular indefinite pronoun, always. And so even though you have of the students, that prepositional phrase separating one and is, one is your subject, it is always singular, and so your predicate has to match that number. The next example is an always plural indefinite pronoun. So the word several is always plural. So if you say several of the cat's whiskers were burned by the fire, it does not matter what happens in between your subject and your predicate, because the word several is always plural, so you're going to always use the plural form of your predicate. And in this case, it's a to be verb. You use the plural form of it, and it's were. However, if the subject is an indefinite pronoun that can be either singular or plural, then in that case, you will actually want to use your prepositional phrase or any of the wording around your sentence to help you determine the intended number in your sentence. In other words, you will be the determiner of whether or not your indefinite pronoun should be used as a singular or a plural. Now, again, this only applies to that group of indefinite pronouns that can be either singular or plural depending on usage. This is the thing we're talking about. You as the writer are going to be the user, so your usage depends on what you intend for your sentence. So if you say all of the people, well, in this case, the word all means all of the people, a bunch of folks, that's plural. So you would say were thrilled by the constitutional amendments. However, if you say all of it was gone when he came back, then all refers to it, some singular entity. And so then all is referred to in a singular tense, and you say all is gone or was gone. You use the singular form of that verb. And some quick clarification for you. The subject of your sentence is never actually going to be inside of that prepositional phrase. So if you'd said, all of the candy is gone, candy is never going to be your subject because it's serving in a different role in the sentence. In that sentence, it's the object of a preposition, not the subject of your sentence. So when you see an indefinite pronoun in use, just be cautious and make the predicate agree with your pronoun, assuming that pronoun is the subject of your sentence, not the prepositional phrase that comes between your subject and your predicate. So let's look at a couple of examples. If you say most of the students are anxious about the test, the subject of that sentence is most, not students. Students in this case is serving as the object of the preposition, and a noun can't serve as an object and as a subject at the same time. So most, the pronoun, serves as your subject, and then students becomes object of the preposition. In the next sentence, the same thing holds true. All of the paperwork is complete. All there is the subject. Paperwork is the object of the prepositional phrase of the paperwork. I want here to give you a warning about times when words can be used as one thing or as another thing. As we had talked about in the previous slide, pronouns sometimes can be used as subjects and sometimes they aren't. Nouns sometimes are used as subjects, sometimes they aren't. It depends on what's going on in the sentence. The same is actually true of pronouns. Indefinite pronouns can sometimes serve as adjectives depending on how they're being used. So you'll want to be cautious with pronouns that are serving in a sentence as an adjective. So let me give you an example. Sometimes indefinite pronouns are pronouns. Those times they serve as subjects, but sometimes they're used as adjectives. And that will happen if your pronoun is sitting in a sentence right in front of another noun. If your pronoun is sitting in front of a noun, the noun is usually the subject, which means that your pronoun actually becomes an adjective describing that noun. Let's look at some examples. If you say some are ready for harder work, then in that case, some is an indefinite pronoun being used as the subject of the sentence. But if you say some children are ready for harder work, then that shifts the responsibility of subject to the noun children, and some becomes a describer. Which children are ready for harder work? Some of them. So in that case, your indefinite pronoun, some, is actually being used as an adjective. You can apply that same standard to the next two examples. If you say little can be done about the issue, then little is an indefinite pronoun serving as the subject of the sentence, and your predicate is can be done. But if you put a noun right after that pronoun, it changes your pronoun into an adjective. If you say little effort is needed to solve this issue, then little becomes an adjective describing how much effort. And effort then is used as the subject of your sentence. To review all these concepts, it's important that you understand the difference between a singular and a plural indefinite pronoun, and then how to use it in a sentence, depending on whether it is singular or plural. And finally, whether that indefinite pronoun is actually being used in the sentence as a subject or as an adjective. Thanks so much. We'll see you in class.